Black Scully on check. Got a little white tee on check. Welcome to another marvelous episode on today's docket. What a week 0 of college football. Now, I know some people don't adopt the philosophy of week 0. They don't like it because most of the teams don't play this week, and that's cool. Whatever works for you is what I like to say. But, at the end of the day, we are on a week 0. We were on a roll for week 0 on our We Cover the Nation tour for CFB Nation. So I couldn't be more excited about where we're at right now. And let's talk about some of the things that's going to be on today's docket. So you know how we break it down. This is in season Governor of College Football. So in-season Governor of College Football is a little bit different than off-season college football. Every Monday, it's the week whatever it is recap. That's what we're doing every Monday. Of course, there'll be a game preview in there, so we will be previewing the game today, but we got so much to talk about today, so much to talk about. For our Into the News segment, Bryce Underwood has officially been named starting quarterback for Michigan. Super excited about that. I think this kid got an immense amount of potential, and I think if Michigan is going to be college football playoff eligible at all this upcoming year, a lot of that I have to do with Bryce Underwood and what he's able to do in this offense. Hopefully they can open up the offense a little bit more. That's honestly something I would like to see. Let's see them open up the offense, to be honest with you. Also, for our Into the News segment, we're also going to be looking at ESPN. They kind of reshuffled their FBI after week 0. I don't think they should have touched it at all. It's week 0. A good portion of the teams didn't play. We did have a big one out there for the Aer Lingus Classic for Farmageddon out there in Dublin, but at the end of the day, I don't think they should have been touched that. They should have touched that at all, at least until after week 1. Dylan Edwards claps back about injury rumors. I'll get into that in a little bit. When you're a competitor, your natural inclination is to be competitive. I don't know why people would assume that somebody faked an injury. I think that's kind of childish, but it is what it is. Avery Johnson family issues a statement on the fight. If you saw the thumbnail, you know that it was a fight out there. So we're gonna talk about that as well, and also Sark highlights his various players' development, and he indicates what players he think made the biggest leap from last year to this year. And also Lance Leipold credits Kansas fans for the new stadium hype. I think that is absolutely spectacular. So shout out to them. Also, we're going to get into what I like to call Governor's Travel, a new segment that we'll be introducing today. And it'll pretty much impact the We Cover the Nation tour. Governor's Travel next week look a little bit crazy because we're at so many games next week, but this week it is what it is. We were at one game this week. Of course, we were live from Atlanta for the MEAC SWAC Challenge. I think it was an incredible game. I'll kind of give you the backstory to the game and how I felt being there live in the moment. But, we're going to talk about culture, the battle of the bands at halftime, the energy, and then, of course, the 31-14 statement win by NC Central. I think that's, that it was incredible. The atmosphere was incredible. Also, for the Governor's Weekend recap, we're going to talk about Farmageddon in Dublin. We're going to also talk about UNLV and Idaho State. And these will be like that old school, if you're old enough to remember, if you live in the DMV area, George Michaels, I believe that was his name. He was like an analyst for NBC, and he had something called George Michael's Sports Machine. And occasionally, my dad, what he would do was, because it was, of course, bedtime for me, he'd wait till my mom go to sleep, and he'll come wake me up. It was like one of the things we had, and we'll watch, George Michael Sports Machine. So the weekend recap will be like that, Sports Center that we seen, where like Rich Eisen and Stuart Scott were there. It'll be that type of vibe for sure. And then we'll also get into the UNLV Idaho State game. I got a lot of thoughts about that game. We're definitely going to talk about that. And also, we're going to talk about the Hawaii walk-off versus Stanford. I think that's their first Power 4 win since 2019. So, Governor College Football, hashtag go CFB. CFB Nation, your only college football destination. Let's get it. Governor of College Football, we're going to recap ACC.
Hey, that's CJ
defensive
on
minds.
the
They have to be better on that side of the Alrighty, so let's get into our Into the News segment. We got a lot to talk about. I kind of introduced some of the topics already. I'll kind of expound on them a little bit as we get more into this segment. So, Into the news. Let's get right into it. Michigan names Bryce Underwood, the starting quarterback. I think this is going to be huge for this team if they're going to have, because I see some people that has had them in their college football playoff, so it's not far-fetched. It's not far-fetched at all. Some people really had them in their college football playoff, and I think their belief system is, hey, maybe Sharon Moore and company can open up the offense with a kid like Bryce Underwood under center. So it'll be interesting to see the way this works. I'm sure all the boosters, the donors, it's not difficult to sell Michigan, so of course they'll have a bunch of people in the stands, for that game. But for this upcoming season, it's not difficult to sell a brand that just won a college football championship a couple of years ago. But with this guy there, many people are going to be excited to see him, and I'm sure the talk all over Ann Arbor is they're excited that this kid was able to win the starting quarterback. I think last year kind of changed the ideologies on freshmen. I think there's always been some programs that had no problem starting freshmen at all, but this one, I think this one is huge. I think this is fantastic, and it's really good for everybody, to be honest with you, that Bryce Underwood is the starting quarterback at Michigan. Alrighty, let's head into our second news story of the day. ESPN updates FPI top 25 after week 0. They kind of reshuffled their rankings after week 0. Kansas State dropped following their loss to Iowa State and Dublin, while Oklahoma and SMU moved upward. It's weird because most of the teams didn't play week 0. So why do we have the audacity not to, why are we even adjusting anything? Just wait till week 1, because you won't see like an update. At least I don't think you will, of the AP poll. CFB Nation, certainly we aren't releasing our poll this week. We're going to wait till after week 1 to kind of release that, and that will be released Tuesday morning because we do have a game Monday night between North Carolina and TCU. Super excited for this weekend slate of games. We are going to cover one, that Baylor and Auburn game in Waco. Super excited for that Friday night. We are going to cover that game. The number 3 story on our Into the News segment. Dylan Edwards pushes back on injury rumors. This one is weird. Like, why does somebody have to push back on whether they were injured or not? Do we not know how silly this is? Seriously, do we not know how serious it is to accuse someone of faking an injury? I get it. All right, he fumbled the ball. I'm sure that's not the first time he fumbled the ball ever in his career, right? So why are we sitting here and pretending that it's, such a big deal that he was injured? Like, we are in a sport with 100% injury, and we're sitting here having to explain ourselves on whether, his injury was real or not. I'm not doubting it. Like I said earlier, for a competitor, it's a natural inclination to compete. It's a natural inclination to complete. So the fact we're going to sit here and try to debate on whether or not this guy was actually injured, that's crazy to me. That's far-fetched to me, and that's stupid to me. Like, at the end of the day, he fumbled the ball. What's the embarrassing about the fumble? Of course, as a running back, the thing you never want to do is fumble the rock. And you think he didn't want to be out there for his teammates? We seriously are going to have that discussion. We're seriously having that discussion right now. Like, to me, that is crazy. No one should have to explain himself in a sport with 100% injury, whether they were really injured or not. Nobody should have to, like, you think he didn't want to go out there and kill? He's the featured running back. Why wouldn't he want to go out there and kill? So we're trying to have a conversation on whether or not his injury was legitimate. What kind of bullcrap is that? Seriously, what? I don't get how we're here having these conversations. I really don't. I don't understand how we get to this point to where we are just going to jump the gun this poorly. We're going to jump the gun and say, hey, we don't think he was injured. Look at the way he was walking. He didn't even attempt to come back out on the field and play. I think, to me, that's crazy. That's 100% crazy. I'm not sure how we get here. I'm really not. And I wish I had a better answer. The fact of the matter is, I don't have a better one of how we got to this place. And if you think that he was injured, I need to hear why you think or why you believe he was injured, and or why you believe he was faking an injury. Because players don't do that. Like, Dylan Edwards is playing for his NFL future. He's undersized. He has elite speed, game-breaking ability. Teams who know how to use him, there is a skill set, or his skill set is a necessity at the NFL level, especially if he, becomes really good at pass pro. But the fact that y'all want to say this kid was faking an injury is crazy to me. I don't know. In other news, Avery Johnson's father and brother issued a statement after Dublin fight. Following their post-game altercation caught on video, the father and brother of Kansas State quarterback Avery Johnson issued an apology, calling it senseless bickering and taking responsibility for the incident. I ain't sure if y'all seen this. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, this is what happened. This is what happens with families. Like, they gonna do that. You in another country, you know, you mad about the loss in the way that they lost, because Kansas had a bunch of opportunities that game. And they had a bunch of things that go their way. Like, think about it. We was just talking about Dylan Edwards. We was just talking about the fact whether, you know, you all believe or whoever believes the fact that he was faking an injury, right? We was literally just talking about that. And then we, you know, think about he fumbles and then Iowa State recovers, and then like second play after that, they do a pitch on the goal line. They fumble, Kansas State get the ball back. Kansas State had a lot of opportunities in this game. And we're going to speak more about this game later on, and I'll recap. But this is what happens. Like, it's embarrassing for Avery Johnson. Is it? Yes, absolutely. Is it embarrassing for his brand? Yes, absolutely. To have to sit here and kind of explain this. He's going to be questioned about this, especially locally in Manhattan, in Little Apple. He's going to be definitely questioned about this. About a fight caught on camera. More people are talking about that than the game. And it's frustrating for that. I feel for him. I truly do. I wish he didn't even have to answer these type of questions, but he'll be answering these questions all week. All week. Hopefully, the SID and the coaches decide, hey, we're going to protect this guy. But I'm sure the type of guy he is, you know, he'll address it head on. But it's just sad that, you know, the actions of others are going to impact people's mindset on him. It is what it is. It's crazy. So let's go down to Austin. They got a big matchup this week versus Ohio State. And Steve Sarkisian kind of highlights Texas' biggest player developments over the past year. Texas head coach Steve Sarkisian spotlighted several Longhorns who have grown the most this past year. Offensive lineman Connor Stroff, tight end Spencer Shannon, wide receivers Jordan Washington, Parker Livingston, plus defenders Ty Anthony Smith, Alex January, Walter Mack, Kobe Black. Sark on the process. They came here to get better. They came here to compete. That's incredible. That's what we like to see. Like, you know, we always talk about how programs build their teams or decide to construct their roster. And a lot of times you'll get people, you know, wanting to build it through high school, or, you know, Colorado prefers to build it through the portal. Not saying that they don't get high school recruits. They absolutely do get high school recruits. But what I'm also saying is they like to build it through the portal as well. So, and I don't know. Like, I think I've gotten to the point where I'm okay with both sides of it. I think Dabo Swinney metric was thought to not work a long time ago, but it absolutely does work now. It's not crazy. The fact that he wants to recruit exclusively through high school, I thought that was impossible a couple of years ago. I really did. But I don't like the other way either. I don't like the drastic way as well. But the development of players, like when we start looking at rosters, analyzing rosters, hey, who we think we're going to, you know, win the national championship or can truly compete this year, one of the things we look at is roster and how are you developing your players. And I think that Dabo Swinney, Steve Sarkisian, there's a host of other coaches, Kirby Smart, who really do a great job. Landon is another one in developing players. So the players on your roster, yes, you go get pieces in the portal when you need them, but the players on your roster, the ones you recruited out of high school, you're trying to build that family-like atmosphere, the one who, you know, you talk to their parents every now and then, that's what it's about right there. That's 100% what it's about. So let's talk about our last story before we move on to Governor's Travels. And I'll tell you guys where I was at, and we'll talk more about it. Lance Leipold credits fans, students for new stadium atmosphere. So David Booth Memorial Stadium was renovated, and they got a chance to open up a versus Fresno State, and a team that I thought I was going to play a little bit better than they played. I know E.J. Warner had a tough game. That's Kurt Warner's son. But, you know, at the end of the day, it is what it is. Kansas handled business. I know there were some thoughts out there. I was one of them that was saying, hey, what happens if Kansas lose this game? Because I knew that, you know, at least I thought that Fresno State would come in hungry, ready to play, and really make a difference. But I like what Lance Leipold is saying here. The fans, the students, the new atmosphere they're really building something in Lawrence. And you see that they're building something in Lawrence when you get a guy like David Booth to pledge $300 million to the program. They are building something special down there. So I think there was more fans in attendance. I'm sorry, the capacity is bigger now at David Booth Memorial Stadium. Playing Fresno State, I can only imagine what that stadium would look like during Big 12 play. But the fact that they were there, they showed up, they showed out, they was able to get an impressive 31-7 win over Fresno State, a team that I think is no slouch. When you look at, somebody like Matt Entz and all the success that he had, and he's taking over that program. So I like what Kansas is doing. It'll be interesting to see how they fit, because it's still difficult to calibrate, but how they overall how they fit in the Big 12 landscape, because there's so many good teams in that conference. There really is, and it's really anybody's conference. And you hate to say something that kind of cliche or like it, you know what I'm saying, but it is what it is. At the end of the day, that conference is certainly for the taking. Let's go ahead and get to our next segment. Governor travels, and I'll tell you where I was this past weekend. Alrighty, so for this past weekend, I have the amazing opportunities and the amazing abilities to be credentialed for a lot of games. Now, there's some games that are a little bit more difficult to get into, as we're still building our brand, but there's some games like there's automatic. If we want to come, we're there. And that's how I felt about this MEAC SWAC challenge. It was so nice being able to go down there, already having a clue of what it's like there, because I did go to an HBCU my first year of higher education. I went to Bowie State, and you already know what it's about to be like in a city like Atlanta, and you bring this experience here. I know I talked to my boy Moon, and he was like, I think the one last year was better with Norfolk State and FAMU because how well they travel. But so, like I said, stepping into this HBCU setting again, it took me back to Bowie State University. That's in Bowie, Maryland, my first year of higher education. And it automatically, it's like a deja vu moment. You start thinking about the fashion and how fashion forward you were during your time there, the Greek life, the different step battles between the various Greek lives. You start thinking about just the banter. You just start thinking about everything. You start thinking about the pursuit of black excellence and prestige, the way the professors at the university kind of strolled with this aura. And, not the way that the kids use the word aura. It's the same meaning, but they use it differently now. But it was this aura of, yes, you're here at an institution of higher learning. Yes, you're going to enjoy yourself while you're here, but respect this campus. And that's the aura that they walked around with. I mean, even to the landscapers, who kept the university looking like, they walked around with that same aura. That's the way that it was there. And that's the things that when I think about HBCU ball, I'm happy we do a HBCU week every year. Granted, this wasn't even our HBCU week. This is just the game that we wanted to go to week 0. And it always takes me back to that moment. It's funny how you can have like nostalgic moments and it has nothing to do, at that time period. But it truly took me back to that time period. So like I said, it always hits me like deja vu. The dripped out wide receivers, it's just different at HBCU. They just do different stuff. It's hard to explain. The trash talk in the stands, the banter. You'll see like the NC Central fans walking up. You saw like the Southern fans walking in. Southern got an aura within its own, even though they lost. They really do. Because when you think about HBCU football, Grambling and Southern are probably the first 2 schools you think of. Now more modernly, of course, HU, everybody thinks about Howard, right? But when you truly think about HBCU football, like Southern and Grambling, all those schools you think about. So we got a really prestigious classic university there. Like I said, the fans walk with a aura as well. You see the jerseys on. Like they travel really well. I think they travel much better than the NC Central fans did. And that's no dig at them because they travel really well too. But like I said, I'm vegan. And a lot of you guys know that I've been vegan for 9 years now. But the smell of the food, the minute we got, I said, something is hitting my nasal passages the moment I got there because the food just smelled amazing. It really, I don't know. It's just something about that environment. I try to paint the picture for people who haven't been to an HBCU game. I know Dina was like, yo, I got to go to an HBCU game. I'm like, yo, we're going to make sure you go to an HBCU game. And I think Clark Atlanta's probably a game you should go to. They got the red turf, and it's crazy. But like I said, you're at an HBCU environment, and it's hard to explain, but it ain't no party like an HBCU party. Them people just know how to party, man. It's like, it is what it is. So I talked about Moon, and he was comparing and contrasting, and actually this is what you do. Like, Moon every year goes to the Celebration Bowl. Moon every year goes to 10 or 12 HBCU games. This is every year. Every year. And as you guys see it on the screen now, the dancers at the halftime show, I love Battle of the Bands. And he was like, yo, last year at the Bands was crazy. 100%. That's what he said. He said last year was crazy, but this year the Center Park Stadium, Georgia Stadium, that's like Moon's second home because Georgia State shows him so much love, so he knew exactly where to go. It's just weird because he's used to Georgia State running it, so the credentials are a certain place. So we end up walking around and having to find our credentials, but we was able to get to the field right there, right before kickoff. And like I said, the atmosphere was electric. The bands were the loudest I've ever heard bands play. And these bands are huge. Like, they took up most of the student sections on both sides. It was just the bands. Like, both of these, I think, bands carried upwards of like 80 people within their band. And they have their own videographers to conduct. Like, it's crazy. It's so crazy. If you ever get a chance to, please experience this for yourself. But like I said, the atmosphere was electric, though. Even though it wasn't, the turnout wasn't as good, it wasn't in as big of a stadium, it was still electric. We heard the banter on the sidelines. People were engaged. The players were engaged. I got some great footage, and I let someone borrow my camera yesterday, so that's why I was scrambling to get back and go live, so I didn't download it. But I'll make sure I show you some of the sights and sounds that I got from the game, because I got some outstanding footage from the game. And I don't know why I'm getting so many text messages today. But like I said, both bands showed out, and it felt like an official opening ceremony for HBCU college football season, and a great way to start out college football season. It really was. But let's move forward. Let's talk more about the game itself. North Carolina Central wasted no time reminding everyone why they are Celebration Bowl contenders. If you don't know what the Celebration Bowl is, it's when the winner of, and it's their championship, honestly, it's when the winner of the SWAC and the winner of the MEAC face each other. That's their Super Bowl every year. So whoever wins that, they say they won the Super Bowl. That's how it works. But this kid, Walker Harris, he's a senior, and he's a super senior because he did have the COVID year eligibility. I'm not sure why he's not at an FBS program. I look at some of these quarterbacks at the FBS ranks. I looked at myself, I said, why this kid ain't playing? He's a lucky lefty. I know some people don't like left-hand quarterbacks, but he's a lucky lefty. He was 19 or 24 for 183 yards and a touchdown. And he was efficient, he was calm, and he was fully in command. And I like this kid a lot. Like, I'm not sure, I forgot the name. Is it the Hula Bowl? Is that the HBCU like equivalent for like the Senior Bowl in the East-West Shrine game? I believe it is. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the name of it is the Hula Bowl. If not, it's called something else, and my apologies 100%. It might not even be the Hula Bowl, but I think it's the Hula Bowl. And he should be here because, he's a really good quarterback. I don't know if you got this game was live. I think it was on ABC or ESPN, one of the family networks. And this kid is really good. So Walker Harris, if you get an opportunity, check him out. He's really good. The ground game did the heavy lifting. Chris Mosley ripped off a 49-yard score. Finished the game with a $117 on just 15 carries. Alani Mageo, I don't know how you say his name, added 95 yards and a touchdown of his own by the nice end. Eagles had gas Southern for 231 yards rushing and 6.6 yards per clip. Southern fought early. Trey Holly's 80-yard lightning bolt tied the game just before half. And the thing was, this was a really good game. I don't know what happened at halftime during the halftime speeches. I guess NC Central was able to make more adjustments, but this game went from a really good game to a rout. And I hate to say something like this. The score was 31-14. So when you think of like debacle, you think about route, you think about a score with probably a wider gap. But for it to be 14-14 all at half, and then in the second half, it was bad. And then when I think about it, I think about Southern's 2 touchdowns. I got a lot of adjustments to make. When I think about Southern's 2 touchdowns, they essentially was like, if I'm being honest, it was just like 2 broken plays. They were long runs. One of them with the quarterback. When I tell you the quarterbacks are elite at the HBCU level, not as an elite, they're not going to throw the ball like you see at big schools, but when they have elite athleticism is probably a better verbiage, because they truly do. The athleticism is out of this world, if I'm being completely transparent with you. So, yes, thoroughly enjoyed myself, thoroughly enjoyed the halftime show. The halftime show was probably the height of it all, to see NCC Central Band go first. They killed it. And then Southern Band just got this swag about them, bro. You knew the minute that they walked on the field how dope it was about to be. And when you think about it, like, HBCU schools, they have large bands, very large bands. The bands dance, and some of them are holding heavy equipment. They dance. They also have dancers, right? Like you see on the screen right now. And you see how many people on the field, bro? Well, with all the instrumentation, there was a lot of people out there. And then there's also cheerleaders as well, so they travel really well, right? And like I said, it's heartbreaking this game wasn't better in the second half. I feel like Southern, the players on Southern, and they were lit in the first half too, because I don't know, every game you go to, if you've ever been to a college football game from the sidelines, you know that it's always one side of the stadium it's not a lot of space, but like the home side of the stadium is always a plethora of space. Well, actually, it's typically inverted. Like when you go to like Maryland or any of these other schools, they take the smaller sideline because they don't want a bunch of people over there. They put the away people on the larger sideline, so you see a lot more, like, you know, photography and videographers on that sideline because it's just access. And every time I go to a game, I get this shot of me going down the visitor sideline, and it's this great shot. You see players interacting. You see, like, maybe the defensive line, a quick get together, linebackers get together, secondary get together, and I just always go down the line to see this. But this time, I went down the line. It was right after a touchdown, and it was about to kick off, so I wanted to go to the opposite side of the field. And then you see the players is vibing to the band playing "I Want You." They literally on the sideline singing it, vibing. I'm like, yo, and I wish I just got my camera a little bit earlier so I could have put that out there. But like I said, it was magnificent, man. I thoroughly, like I said, enjoyed my time at this game, man. And shout out to them for always credentialing us, always rolling out the red carpet. We was also credentialed for the FCS game between Mercer and UC Davis, and Moon and I were having a difficult time trying to decide, what game do we want to go to? But we kept it HBCU, stayed in Hotlanta. Also, I got to talk about this, because Governor Travel's not just about the game, it's about the food. So I was in Atlanta. Like I said, their food scene is crazy. I went to this place called Slutty Vegan, right? Vegans. I know everybody like, we don't want to hear about no vegan food. Now, my apologies. I know y'all don't want to hear about no vegan food, but I'm going to talk about vegan food real quick. It's my segment. We talking about, Governor Travels. And it's this place called Slutty Vegan. And typically, the flex of being vegan is the fact of, you don't really get the itis a lot. You eat for energy. And, after that, you're able to still go about your business instead of, I remember pre-vegan, man, I overeat. Got to unbuckle the belt a little bit, lean back. You know what I'm saying? And it's a long time since I felt that feeling, but at Slutty Vegan, I felt that feeling. Like I had the itis. I had not had the itis in a very long time. And I forgot how rewarding of a feeling it was. And I'll admit this, and I probably shouldn't. And we ate the food. Actually, Moon and his girlfriend, fantastic hospitality, by the way. We was watching the Kansas State and Iowa State game, and I ate the food, and the itis punched me. I said, oh. Ended up taking a nap during the game. I hate to admit it, bro. The itis got me. It's probably about like a good 20-minute nap. It was through like the end of the second quarter to half. I think I woke up right after half. I caught the itis eating the Slutty Vegan food, man. So that food was spectacular. I promise you. It was spectacular. So a lot of you all have never seen the voiceover work that I do, unless you see the greatest player segment that I was doing on the CFB Nation before they started hating and giving us a bunch of copyright. So I had to stop that series. I enjoy doing voiceovers. I don't know why I struggle with that word so much. So you guys are about to be in for a real treat. This is a live voiceover, by the way. Most of the time, most people record it, boom, and then they play it live. I love the live element of this show, and I don't want to change that. I really don't. Unless it's like on the road again, and then I'm giving you guys a bunch of footage while I'm there. That's different. But for these live voiceovers, and if you miss the old style of SportsCenter. You're in for a treat. That's what I aim to do with these voiceovers. So let's get into this next segment. We about to have a blast with this one. It's called Weekend Recap, SportsCenter style. I'm about to go over 3 games, voiceovers. It'll be photos. I wish I had the real footage, but it'll be photos. I think you guys gonna have a lot of fun with this one. Let's check it out. Farmageddon crossed the Atlantic in Dublin, Ireland. Got chaos at the side again. It's the Aer Lingus College Football Classic turned Aviva Stadium into a cathedral of Midwest violence. Number 22 Iowa State versus number 17 Kansas State in a rivalry that never fails to throw haymakers. And this game started off real sloppy. We got 3-and-out, punt, fumble, on the goal line, pitch, fumble. But it turned real quick. It didn't take long for the Cyclones to make noise. First quarter, Rocco Beck firing a 23-yard dot to Dominic Overby, and Iowa State plants the flag early, 7-0. But Kansas State had answers. Avery Johnson, the sophomore quarterback, with a little bit of swagger. While his folks was fighting after the game, he kept it to himself in the second quarter, punching in a 10-yard run to even it up right before halftime. Third quarter, the grind turned cinematic. Iowa State chewing up nearly 6 minutes of the clock. Then Beck strikes again with a 24-yard pass to Brett Elkiskin. Cyclones back on top, 14-7. But in the fourth quarter, that's when Farmageddon became a full-blown brawl. Johnson unleashes a 37-yard strike to Chase Brown. Boom! The game is tied 14-14. And the fans were out of their seats. Iowa State responds with a patience. 10 plays, 4 minutes, capped by a Kyle Connery field goal. Then Beck answers his own call. 7 yards bulldozing through the end zone. And Beck was living la vida loca. Cyclones up 24-14 with 6:38 left. Aviva was rocking, but the Wildcats weren't done. One play, 15 seconds. Johnson uncorks a missile to Jerron Bradley for 65 yards. Touchdown. And Jerron Bradley is back in the Big 12 in a big way. Kansas gets the score until 3, 24-24. And Dublin is losing its mind. Then came the call, the moment that defines legends. 2 minutes left. Matt Campbell said, hey, we can either kick a field goal, go up 6 and give Avery Johnson a chance to win this game, or we can go for it and bleed the clock. And he decided to go for it and bleed the clock. Iowa State staring at a field goal chance. Most coaches kick. Matt Campbell gamble. Rocco Beck drop back. Found Carson Hansen in the flat. First down. Chains move. Game over. Kansas State never touched the ball again. Iowa State bled the clock and claimed Farmageddon on foreign soil. Final score, Iowa State 24. Kansas State 21. Beck with 3 total touchdowns because he was living la vida loca. Johnson electric in defeat with 273 yards, and it was more Johnson family fights after the end of the game as well. But in the end, discipline, guts, and that fourth down dagger made the difference. Farmageddon went global, and the Cyclones left Dublin with the win the whole world saw. The great thing about this game is that they're 1-0 in Big 12 play. They're already leading the Big 12, and to start your season off 1-0. That team in Ames, Iowa, is ready for a big season this year, but it's all not lost for Kansas State. We will look at them and see who they play next. Let's move on to the next game we got coming up. UNLV survives Idaho State in Vegas. As Pusha T would say, there's no tombstones in the desert. And under the lights of Allegiant Stadium, the truth rang out, the strip blowing in distance, scarlet and gray flooding the dome, Dan Mullen walking into Vegas debut. I hate when quarterback paddles bleed into the regular season. 25,000 fans came expecting a coronation, but instead what they got chaos, sweat, and a knife fight against an FCS team in Idaho State. The Bengals came out swinging a field goal. The backup quarterback, Michael Shulikov, hitting Jordan Cook. Yes, hitting Jordan Cook, who caught a beautiful touchdown pass, moonlighting as a wide receiver for a touchdown. Suddenly, it was 10-0 Idaho State, and the Rebels were stunned. Then came the answer. Jadon Jet Thomas strapped his team on his back, a 39-yard touchdown sprint, then a 70-yard touchdown track meet explosion. 2 scores in 3 minutes, and UNLV had life. Allegiant erupted as the Rebels surged ahead. Still, Idaho State never flinched. Deshaun Brooks was a battering ram, 132 yards, 2 touchdowns, including a 27-yard burst to tie that half. The FCS underdogs carried a 17-14 lead, leading into the locker room. Second half, pure chaos. Thomas scored again. Raymond Villaleva drills a short field goal, but Jordan Cook had ice in his veins. He launches a 64-yard bomb into Duarte, game tied 24-all. Then the Bengals landed another haymaker. Brooks punches in and again, and suddenly Idaho State's up 31-34 in the fourth. Allegiant Stadium gas. UNLV was stirring that humiliation. But this is where good teams find something. Virginia transfer and the guy that should be starting quarterback, Anthony Calandria, answered, zipping a 9-yard strike to Day Reynolds. Tied game. Then Dan Mullen, biggest gambles, 4th and goal. Alex Orji in that quarterback. We saw this earlier in the game on the 4th and 2 where they was going to go for it. Got a false start. That's why you don't have these quarterback battles. Dan Mullen, biggest gamble. Like I said, Alex Orji in that quarterback. Orji lowers his shoulder, spins off a tackler, crashes into the end zone, go ahead touchdown. Rebels up 38-31 with 8:51 left. And then that's when turnovers buried Idaho State. 4 interceptions, 2 from new corner Laterrence Welsh, 1 in the end zone. First career picks for Marcel McDuffie, who was Mountain West all preseason team, and Amaris Brown. Every takeaway stripped oxygen from the Bengals. Everyone bailed UNLV out. Final score in UNLV 38, Idaho State 31. Thomas ran wild with 147 yards and 3 touchdowns, but Jordan Cook outgunned both Rebel quarterbacks with 395 yards passing. Idaho State gained UNLV through the air, and it was no paycheck game. This was survival. And let me be clear, if Dan Mullen truly wants to win the Mountain West and chase the college football playoff aspiration, he's got to stop playing musical chairs at quarterback. Anthony Calandria has earned a job. You were nearly 30 points favorites and almost lost. Quarterback battles bleeding into the regular scene. That's how dreams die in October. Vegas is held. Idaho State left with pride, and Mullen debut begins not with dominance, but survival. We're going to take a commercial break before we get into this third one. Look at you out here using all these other sports books, and you ain't even using the best one. BetUS, get 125% match bonus when you use the promo code CFB Nation. Yeah, you heard me correctly, 125% match bonus on your first deposit using that code CFB Nation. We know that college football is in the offseason, even though we don't celebrate that. You know, CFB Nation, we do college football 24/7, but there are plenty of things for you guys to bet on.
Who will have the most wins, OKC Thunder or Cleveland Cavaliers? Can Luka and LeBron make it all mesh to make it to the play-in tournament? Maybe you're a college basketball guy ready to risk it all for Florida to make it to the big dance.
Basketball isn't for you? Maybe you're a football guy. Well, BetUS got you covered with this year's UEFA Championship. Can Liverpool or Barcelona win it all? Will Erling Haaland or Harry Kane lead their teams to victory?
May is going to get popping when the Kentucky Derby hits town. BetUS has you covered in that way too, with all major horse racing events. Point is, type in that promo code CFB Nation and go get that money.
Bermuda, Jamaica, ooh, I want to take ya. On a sunbaked afternoon in Honolulu, the Clarence T.C. Ching Complex turned into the biggest stage in college football. The Manoa Valley heat was heavy. Tea leaves waving, drums pounding, and Kansai Matsusawa, I say his name, 38-yard kick sailed through the uprights at the horn. The roar washed over the islands. Hawaii 23, Stanford 20. A walk-off under the Hawaiian sun. A giant killer reborn. Early on, it looked like Stanford was going to suffocate this game. A 15-yard march, a 15-play march ended in a field goal. Then disaster for Hawaii. A strip sack in the end zone. Scoop and score. 10-0 Cardinal before the first quarter was gone. But the Warriors answer. Freshman quarterback Micah Alahado was making his second career start, marched his team down 58 yards and found Puffley Ashlock on a 3-yard touchdown. Later, Alahado twisted the knife on his old teammates, hitting Stanford transfer Jackson Harris for a 19-yard score to give UH a 14-13 halftime lead. Stanford lead on their brand, slow, physical, possession football. They own nearly 36 minutes of the clock. In the fourth quarter, they chewed almost 10 minutes on a 20-play drive, capped by Micah Ford's 2-yard touchdown run, 20-17 Stanford, and it felt like the dam would finally break. But Hawaii didn't fold. Alahado hobbling after a brutal third quarter shot. Played the entire second half on one leg. He scrambled for 12 yards, gutty, and kept the offense alive. And then the defense delivered. Kilnahe Winela Johnson leaping to snag an interception with under 6 minutes left, flipping momentum completely. With 93 seconds left, Alahado commanded one last march. 2 completions to Harris, then scramble on one bad leg, then a dump to London Sims, who rumbled for 24 yards into field goal range. Enter Kansai Matsusawa, a senior from Tokyo who literally learned how to kick from YouTube. We are in the age where players are learning how to play from YouTube. That is crazy. He drilled a 37-yarder to tie it, and with 3 seconds left, stepped back to the kick of his life. Clean snap, smooth strike, 38 yards, pure ball through, crowd erupt. Stanford stunned. Hawaii had its moment. Hawaii 23, Stanford 20. For the first time since 2019, the Warriors beat a Power 4 conference team. For the first time ever, they beat Stanford. Alahado finished with 210 yards and 2 touchdowns while hobbling through the second half. Matsuwa, I know I'm saying this name wrong, went 3 for 3. The YouTube kicker turned island hero, and Timmy Chang's team down 10-0 early outscored Stanford 23-10 the rest of the way. This is resilience, this is belief, and blazing Hawaiian afternoon, the Rainbow Warriors made history. Shout out to Hawaii. That was an outstanding game. The storylines were even better, and to win in the facet that they won. Also, shout out to Nino Brown and D Now, who predicted this. I thought Stanford would find a way to win, but nah. Hawaii found a way to win it, and we're going to get into our Around the Nation game previews. We got a good game on slate this weekend. Let's talk about it. All right, that was an extremely fun segment. I had a lot of fun with that. Like I said, it'll get a little bit cleaner as we get through the season. That was just a lyrical exercise for the moment. But let's talk about the tail of the tape, man. We are looking at 2 really great teams. We have a battle for it all Friday night in Waco. And I'm telling you, if you're high on Auburn, I think you're high on Auburn because you believe Auburn can win this game and shut people like me up who are super high on Baylor. And if you high on Baylor, you are saying, yeah, the revolution will be televised. And I'm one of those people who believe that the revolution will be televised Friday night in Waco. It will be televised. When I tell you there's a team in Waco who's ready to they're ready to go crazy. I'm telling you, this team has what it takes to win it all in the Big 12. I promise you. So let's look at the tail of the tape. You guys answer in the comment section. Shout out to my dog D-Now. D-Now kind of came up with this layout, and it's something that you'll see us use on Overreaction Monday. I'm like, heck, I need to do this for more games. So we're going to also use it for Governor of College Football. I'm sure Moon will use it for the world of college football. And then Nino and D-Now got a real treat for you guys. They haven't announced it yet, so I don't want to ruin their surprise or steal their thunder. They'll probably be using this as well. So we got the tail of the tape. Who got the better offense in your opinion? So we got Jackson Arnold at quarterback for the Tigers. Damari Alston, and I think they'll use a running back by committee, to be honest with you. Wide receiver Cam Coleman, he's legit. I think we're looking for him to have a breakout year in year 2. Wide receiver Eric Singleton, who they got over from Georgia Tech, who really played in the offense that's built on running the ball. That's their coach mantra. Their coach is also, and Brent Key, a former offensive lineman. And then, they want to play the possession and play physical, right? So they want their offensive lineman pushing the defensive line around in the fourth quarter, and that's via running the ball. So I think he'll be in a more friendlier offense, as a wide receiver is concerned. So I expect him to go crazy this year. And the wide receiver Malcolm Simmons as well, tight end Brandon Frazier. I really like what this team could do offensively. When I think about Auburn, Hugh Freeze has done the work. He's 100% put the work in the offseason. I expect this team to be really good this year. When I say really good, I don't mean bowl eligible. Auburn should be, with the roster that they have, they should be past the point of bowl eligibility. They should be past the point of, we had a really good season. They should be at that point of, hey, we can do something special this season and be on the cusp of a college football playoff berth. That needs to be the aspirations for Auburn this year. And do not make the mistake of looking at Jackson Arnold and seeing how bad he played in Norman and kind of project that for how he'll play in Auburn. It'll be different. The talent is a little bit different. I think he has more talent on this roster, especially at wideout. I think this offense probably fits what he does a little bit better. Theoretically, this offense that Seth Luttrell was running should have fit him really well. Grand scheme of things, it just didn't. At the end of the day, it didn't. So don't look at what he did in Norman and try to make that the projection of what you think he's going to do in Auburn. Do not make that mistake. That will be a fatal mistake, I promise you. This team can win. They can win. And when I say can win, they should have SEC championship aspirations. They really should, because they're talented. Do I think they're a tier 1 team in the SEC? Absolutely not. I just don't. I just think that, I look at LSU, I look at Bama, I look at Texas, Florida. They may be on that tier, the second tier, or even third tier. Second tier with like the Oklahomas of the world, South Carolinas, Auburns, like teams that's really trying to make a splash this upcoming season. So I like a lot of what they have, and a lot of this is going to ride on the preparation that Hugh Freeze has done with this team and how ready they are for this game. Because I'm telling you, when I say Waco is going to be rocking, Waco 1,000% is going to be rocking. Waco's going to be crazy. Let's talk about the other side of the ball. I really like this Baylor team. There's no anybody who's watched the show at least once have heard me. I probably talk about Baylor more than any other team. I love what they have offensively, but more importantly, I love who their coach is. And Dave Aranda, I like his philosophies. They're going to play aggressive. They're going to play with physicality, and they want to lead with the defense. Well, he got a guy, the offensive coordinator, in Jake Spavital, who's fantastic. This system that they had, they started the season off 2-4. Started the season off 2-4, and heading into the year last year in Waco, DeQuan Finn was supposed to be the guy at quarterback. Sawyer Robertson had other plans, and I don't think enough people know about Sawyer Robertson and how good this kid really is. He had 28 touchdowns a season ago. He is damn good. He's damn good. And then they got a guy, I think returning leader in rushing in the Big 12 from a season ago, and Bryson Washington, who's the real deal. I hate that my dog Pendergrass is out. That really hurts me because he brings so much balance to that rushing attack with the smoothness, the silky smoothness of Bryson Washington. And Pendergrass, like, I can run around you and get 10 yards, or I can run through you and get 5 yards. He's 100% going to go through you to get 5 yards. That's what Pendergrass is as a runner. So the fact that they're lacking that physicality this year bothers me. But Skaggs is going to, who I think has a really good speed. He probably can beat Bryson Washington in a race. I think he's going to have to step it up this year. They're just going to be missing that physicality. Now, don't get me wrong. Bryson Washington is a bell cow. He's just silky smooth in his approach. That's all. And I thought that Pendergrass brought a lot to that. Ashton Hawkins is back. They was kind of waiting for an announcement to see what's going on with him. So I like this wide receiver core. Josh Cameron, if you haven't seen him play, really physical receiver. He reminds me of our newer school, David Boston. He's built like a tank. He looks like a running back, does not look like a wide receiver. And he's not going to kill you with his speed, but his ability to run after catch, you are going to have to bring your lunch pail if you want to bring this guy down. He's dynamic in the return game as well. I really like what this team has. And then Kobe Prentice, I think, was a really good get out of the portal from Bama. My question is, for Baylor, I know they're going to play physically, defensively. Can they win the war of attrition on the line of scrimmage on offense? That's what I want to know. Will they be able to push this Auburn defense around? That's really the question that I'm truly asking myself. Can these guys push that defense around? Right? Right, because that's where I'm at with it. Now, we talked about both offenses. What do these matchups look like? What do these matchups look like early? I think what offensive coordinator Jake Spavital is going to do early is really try to make Sawyer Robertson comfortable. Because Sawyer Robertson, I think he's a better runner than he's given credit for, but he's also like, yo, when he gets hot, he's throwing lasers. He's throwing complete lasers. So I think the gameplay will be simple early. Don't be surprised early if they, first drive, they're able to march down and score a touchdown. I think the sad truth about this game, and this take is probably going to bother a lot of people, but it is what it is. I've always said that. I've always felt that way. This is how I feel, and I'm going to always be real about it. I think as good as Auburn can be this year, don't judge them off of this game, because I think there's something magical going down in Waco. I really do. And if Auburn comes in here and win this game, it'll really mess up my calibrations for both of these programs, because I know this Baylor team is a really good team, and they're physical. They're extremely physical. So if Auburn can march into Waco and leave out with a win, let's say they have a really impressive victory and they win by like 10-plus points, I don't think my mind changes about Baylor, because I think that the Big 12 will be close and they'll still have opportunities to win that conference. But, man, my mind certainly changes about Auburn, because I hold Baylor in such high regard. I really do. So I'm excited for this game. I think this is one of these games that we get Friday night, and I think it'll be the game that we may end up talking about all weekend. But I do think Baylor wins. I haven't looked at the spreads. Don't care to look at the spreads, because I think they win by 10-plus points. I'm that confident in this team. I really am. We have some other good midweek games as well. We got some games Thursday, the game I plan on going to. The flight's just difficult to get to Madison, but I plan on going anyway. Miami of Ohio plays Madison. I always say Madison, but they play the Badgers of Wisconsin. And it's one of those games where I always say I don't like certain matchups. Now, Wisconsin will win the game, but Miami of Ohio is physical. They are extremely physical, and I spoke of DeQuan Finn earlier. That's what actually DeQuan Finn is now. And that team has just been a staple in that conference for a while. They've been in a couple of conference championships. Like, that's their goal every year, to go up Detroit to have an opportunity to win the conference. This game is going to be an important game. It'll be my first time seeing, one of the wonders of the world, for my opinion, to jump around at the end of the third quarter. I can't wait to see that at Camp Randall. I can't wait to experience that. Now, will it meet, like, Enter Sandman, where that was, like, the first time? Like, because you'll never forget your first time seeing Enter Sandman at Lane Stadium. You'll never forget it. I'll never forget it. I'll never forget that feeling of just pure, like, I'm stuck. I have chills. I have no movement. I have no words. I'm literally like this. In the stadium, you could just feel it shaking. So I wonder, will it be that type of experience, seeing jump around? Like I said, I think Wisconsin will win that game. But I will say this. Miami of Ohio will bring it. I'm interested to see how well Luke Fickell play this year, because you look at a team with a tough non-con schedule, tough con schedule. I think they got the 6th or 7th toughest schedule in the country. Like, and he just got a contract extension. But that doesn't mean if they don't perform, he'll still be there next year or the year after. There's no guarantees in this sport. That's just the way it works. This is a sport of what have you done for me lately. It's absolutely always been that way. So we had some really good games this upcoming week. The weekend games, I'm going to try to break them down to the best of my ability. It's so many good games this week. It's so many games I want to talk about. Make sure you guys check out Overreaction Monday tonight, because we're going to be talking about a handful of these elite games. That's at 8:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time over at the CFB Nation. I'm just so excited for college football. Like, this week 0 felt real. I know all the teams didn't play, but it felt real to me to actually, have to catch a flight, early morning flight, get on the road, get ready for the game, be at the game. Like, it's like, okay, college football is here. The world can rejoice. Now it's time to really get into, like, because this offseason, I developed segments to be able to talk about college football in the offseason. Now, a lot of it is Monday's always going to be recap. Let's recap the past week. That's going to be easy. We'll preview one game, probably a midweek game or a weekday game. That way, the later games we can save. So, like this Auburn game, I'll go ahead and get that uploaded to the YouTube today. But fun weekend, truly fun weekend. I had a blast. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the voiceovers. I'm gonna be doing a lot more of those, especially like next week. It may be 2 days of those, but it's so many good games. I want to just keep it at 3 or 4 per day. So I'll probably do like 3 or 4 the first day and then 3 or 4 the second day, because there's just so many elite games this week. I can't wait to talk about all of them. And it's college football season. I know it felt good for college football to be back. I know it had to feel good for you guys for it to be back. But as I always like to say, there are no more victories in a sport that survive and fast. That's why college football has the greatest regular season. And until next time, you all take care. Governor of college football, we're going to recap ACC.
Hey, that's CJ on
Defensive
the
minds.
track.
They have to be better on that side of the ball.